Thank you.
So this is what I'll be looking at. I'll be looking to identify the technology that best fits my production. I'll look at the target audience, the legal and ethical, and then I'll justify my reasons, and then contingency plan if things don't go right, and then I'll show you my mock-ups. Okay, so I'll be looking at RFID tags, QR codes, SDK technology, and responsive web design. First of all, RFID tags. They're high speed, so you can just zap it and it will pop up straight away on the screen. They have large storage capacity, so you can have lots of information in one. The cons about it is that it requires an RFID reader. They're quite high cost for the readers. But you require close communication, so in some cases that would be good because it will get the audience involved. They can go up to things and zap them. But as you walk into the cathedral, you probably want something that immediately pops up, and this won't provide that. Can be quite complicated to set up, comparing it to the other ideas, and it's commonly used for databases like, say for instance, shopping and tracking items and stuff, not for visual productions. The QR codes, they're clearly visible. They work well for promotional purposes. So for instance, this T-shirt, you could have someone walking around with a T-shirt and it'd be quite interactive, get everyone involved. Accessible to smartphones, they're very easy to create. They take 1 minute online. And as I said, they're good for advertising. Cons require a reader, but like all the other ideas, you will need to download something off the internet, whether it be an app, a reader, or the reader for the reader for the RFID. Not all users have smartphones, but I will justify later why I have chosen my reasons. Okay, SDK technology. It's very professional. A lot of the high-end businesses use this to create their apps, as it's more advanced and you can change the functionality a lot more, and it offers a great user experience. Downside is it can take quite a long time to create, and I'll have to do a lot of research into how I will create it, and an app will need to be downloaded like a QR code reader. Okay, I looked at responsive web design. It's an alternative to an app, I guess. It can just be based on one HTML page and the style sheet. And all you have to do is add a little bit of extra code, and it will resize it, the web page, and reposition the content depending on the size of your screen. With this though, I will need to incorporate a trigger mechanism, because there won't be one. I'll probably include QR codes, because it's nice and simple. You can zap that and then it will take you to the site. Another downside is it doesn't have a native app feel. So you look at this for instance, it doesn't really function as an app would. The text is still quite small. I mean, you can change this, but for this as an example, it's not as accessible as an app. And the content is identical to the HTML site, whereas an app you can change things around, have extra bits and stuff. So you're purely using the HTML site and just shrinking all the content down. Okay, client and audience needs. Basing it on an HTML website, because that's what I thought I had to do. I'll include an audio narrative for people who have impaired vision. So like, if it's a tour, there will be speeches telling them where they are around the place. And like the cathedral site, they just have a Google Translate bar, nice and easy to implement, doesn't require much coding, and everyone knows about Google Translate, so it's quite easy for everyone to change the nationality. Okay, target audience. There wasn't really a direct age specification because anyone can go into the cathedral, it doesn't matter how old you are. But you will need a smartphone device, and I have researched, which I'll tell you in a minute, about how many people do have a smartphone, which could affect the production. But and I've taken a quote off the site where they just to reiterate about there's no specific target audience because everyone's welcome, from tourists to local worshippers, etc. Okay, so legal and ethical. None of the work is representative of Chichester Cathedral, but I will need their permission to get this running. There'll be no bias towards any religion, so it will consider all religions. And if I were to upload this to the App Store, for instance, a process of checking will need to happen just to make sure that it is allowed on there. Okay, so I need to come out with this quick. These are a couple of similar existing products. Right, this app was created for commemorative reasons. It was about 250 years this place has been running.
The iPad tour will be available next month.
In July, when we have the application completed, people are going to be able to come by, pick up one of these, and basically get a narrative, audio and video tour guide as they go around from stop to stop to stop.
The tour application will be the first of its kind for the Apple iPad. This has been Sean Rhodes reporting from the Old Dutch Burial Ground.
Okay, I skipped a lot of the content there, but basically they walk around the church ground. There's certain areas which are highlighted on the app. You just press wherever it is and it will pop up with a load of information about that specific area. So it doesn't involve GPS like we mentioned earlier, but you get an idea for where you are. Back to this. Okay, so the Cologne Cathedral is another app I looked at. The main point of this one is the guest book. I really like the idea of having a guest book. You have to experience the place, I guess, to be able to write in this guest book. So instead of just staying at home, and then you wouldn't be able to write in a guest book because you wouldn't have been there. So it will show that you're involved, it just gives the sense that you're interacting with the place a bit more. You can promote the cathedral to future worshippers or people who come to see the place. I just think it's a really nice touch to be able to say your experiences and stuff. Okay, I'm going to create a mobile app, mainly because it's more professional. I can tweak areas a bit more, it can be more in depth. I've researched, so just under a third of the UK population use smartphones, which is a bit of a dent in my target audience, but all the media productions I've looked at previously all require a smartphone. So it's just something I have to deal with, I guess. And over 1 billion worldwide users, so that's roughly a seventh, maybe an eighth of the world. But if you consider poorer countries and stuff with high populations, that is quite a large target audience. And like I said, it offers a better and unique experience than a responsive web design. And the Cathedral does use a Wi-Fi system, so as soon as they've downloaded the app, they'll be quite easily, there shouldn't be any problems with the application. It should work smoothly. Just in case it does go wrong when I'm creating the app, I will revert to responsive web design, and I will use QR codes around the cathedral. You'll zap them, it will pop up on your website on different pages whereabouts you are, a bit of information, and it will still be interacting, just not as the experience probably won't be as good as the app would, just in case things do go wrong in production. Okay, so here's a site map. The HTML site is what you do at home. The app is what you experience when you're at the cathedral. So at home you can explore a virtual tour. Didn't feel it was necessary to have a virtual tour when you're there because you're in the building. But I thought having a map showing your location would be quite interesting, because then you know where you are in the building and you could follow around, I guess. So that's just a contrast of how the site and the app would work, but most of the stuff would remain the same. And here's a couple of mock-ups. There's the mobile. It's just the home page. It's quite simple. And there's it on the iPad. So you'd have a start tour button, because the iPad, some people might take it to the cathedral, but most people probably use it at home, so you can still use the tour. And then this is an example of, just contradicting myself there, because that's the tour on the iPad. But yeah, you get the rough idea. It's everything's quite blocky, so you can see it clearly. You don't have to zoom in or anything. And yeah, I believe that's my presentation.
Okay, thanks Nick, well done.
Quite short, I think.
Okay, any comments?
I was just wondering about the Google Translate thing, because that's also something that just a cathedral does on its website. But it doesn't strike me as being very good at targeting target audience, basically, because it's a very rough, sort of almost humorous translation sometimes.
Right.
That it can get the point across, but on the other hand, it's a very budget way of doing it. And I think if you're doing a proper smartphone application, you might want to actually get dedicated translations for the information that you actually are going to present.
Okay. Yeah,
I don't know, it's just a comment.
No, it's fair enough. Certainly something I can consider.
Just one comment I've made that I'd like to make is that from what I understand, you are going to appropriate the existing technology that the cathedral already has via their Wi-Fi. So will you be using their Wi-Fi network?
Yeah, which means you will require a password.
So you need to. What would you need to do, Nick, if perhaps, because there is a way that the cathedral can split the Wi-Fi signal. So what do you think you would need to do? Obviously, there are two types of Wi-Fi connection, aren't there? One of them you just mentioned, password access, and open access. Yeah. So that would be something I think that you would need to speak to the cathedral about. How feasible is open access Wi-Fi?
You could still use 3G, couldn't you? But it's
Yeah,
slower.
yeah, it would be slower.
Could be restricted, like the open access, just to that particular
onto the app.
Application of your application.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
Nick would need to actually speak and liaise with the cathedral about how that might be implemented. Because it would be great when you come to build it that is in place. It may already be in place. I don't know. You need to have that conversation. But it would be great if that was in place and we could have that whole Wi-Fi signal working, so we can get a better understanding and look and feel of your product in a albeit prototype way, but in a functioning environment.
So showing them logging in and having it as an open access.
Well, yeah, it would be. You wouldn't need to log in. You'd just have a pop-up or something that tells you, right, do you want to download the app?
Okay.
And we would need to see how you could implement that, if at all, if it's possible.
Because I've never been anywhere where an app's just popped up on my phone.
Well, not pop up, but you might get some notification.
Right.
Do you see what I mean? It might trigger something and send you, I don't know, an SMS text message or something. If you're on your phone, or if I think iPads have a message system as well, don't they? So
I'm not sure about those kind of things. I think there's like laws against spamming. That would be considered as spamming.
right, okay.
I mean, like Slug Alert, there's the cloud, isn't it? That massive internet connection thing going on. You heard of the cloud?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I hadn't before. I was like, wow. But yeah,
Okay,
I mean,
yeah.
you could, when you go on the internet, it pops up with that straight away, doesn't it? So that's
Right. Okay.
I could always specify as they walk in, you'll need to do this.
I mean, is there a way you can trigger the browser to? I mean, I don't know. You
Yeah,
need to tell me. Is there a way? I wonder if there's a way that when you open your browser, it automatically sort of goes, we're in just the cathedral. I'm going to flash up this page and say, here is an option to download the app or take a virtual tour.
Well, I'm not sure myself either. I'll
Again,
have to-
this is for further research. I don't know how viable that is.
Okay.
The guest book
Yeah.
bit. I mean, I'm really interested in social media. I really like participating and contributing to something. I don't just want to be a consumer. What happens to that information? Where does that go? So I log into the guest book. I go, wow, I love the cathedral. It's the best. Woohoo!
I mean, you could have Facebook
And then
compatibility
what happens?
or something.
Right. Okay.
Basically, I just thought you could type it in and then it would have a list of and reviews, I guess, of your experience.
And would that be location specific? So if you've got your spiel of, say, the inner sanctum of the altar is and what have you, would it act like a pinboard, so you could pin your comments about that particular place? I mean, how would you see it working? I'm not saying the actual how you're going to get it working. How would you see it working? I mean, because I know you can do that on Google Earth, can't you?
What, you can say your location?
You can go to the location and you'll see where people have submitted images that photos they've taken, little comments, that kind of thing. I wondered if that was an avenue that maybe might be
Is that
explored.
geolocation stuff?
I think it is, yeah.
I mean, it's certainly possible. It'd
Yeah.
probably be nice.
Yeah, because people have their favourite things, don't
Yeah.
they? And it might even expand slightly to actually listing in their personal favourites, if you like, order-wise. People love compiling lists, don't they? We do it every day, and it's like my top 10 things about the cathedral, or must-sees and what we wouldn't bother with.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
That could be an extension of the guest book functionality. I don't know.
I've been to the Tate Modern recently, and they have a massive wall where you can go and put post-its on, and it's quite fun. But at the same time, projected onto the top of all of that is the current Twitter feed about a certain topic, and it's quite interesting because it's continually updating, and you can do it right there and then. It would be nice if somehow these comments were projected into a certain area of the cathedral. It's unintrusive, it doesn't damage things. I know that the cathedral accepts projections of stuff, and on discussion. I'm just wondering if if there was a space and I could write a little bit about my experience in that particular area of the cathedral. It's projected into the corner, it's changing, it evolves. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's the way that I'd like you guys to be thinking a little bit about this opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. Something I could consider, yeah.
Okay. Has anyone else got any other comments before we have Ben or not? I know we've overrun, but I'd rather get it all out of the way. Okay. Thanks, Nick. Well done.